So happy Friday, everybody. Welcome. Let's see. I have on my superhero shirt today. So I had to dig into my closet for something new because I always wear the same drum set shirts. And so this one is like a Hawaiian shirt, but if you look carefully, there's like different superheroes that are kind of hiding. So anyway, I thought that might be kind of fun. So it was suggested last week that we learn a little bit about the Bo Diddley beat. So I had to do a little research myself. I've heard the beat, I've played the beat, but I didn't really know much about the background. So I'm going to share my screen, and I did put together a little PowerPoint. Let's see, I was looking up an instrument. So this is an instrument actually I got in Vietnam in 2017, and in the move it got dismantled, and so I was like, how do I put it back together again? And so I was just looking at this picture, and when I started looking at it really carefully, whoever made it, this was from a tiny little village in Vietnam. These little sticks, and mine looks almost exactly like this. I have it over. I was killing time before we started. I was like, let me put that thing together. And each of these little sticks, actually, when you look carefully at it, had I paid attention better, like this one has like one little dot on it, like a dice or a die, and then it has a little dot right here, and then like over here it might have two here and two there, and down here it might have three and three and four and four and five and five. Anyway, you just coordinate, put the two that match together, and then you just hang the strings up, and it actually perfectly fits. So I don't know. That's what I was doing right before we started. So back to the Bo Diddley. Let's learn a little bit about Bo Diddley. Some of you might remember Bo Diddley. I didn't really follow him along or anything, but it's a real person, and his name is Bo Diddley, and he's got this really cool square, kind of rectangular guitar. He has a couple of different names depending on who you research, and I didn't delve into anything. I sometimes just go to Wikipedia or something quick like that, but he has a couple of different names. So there was Ellis McDaniel. He was actually born Ellis Otha Bates, and he was actually raised by a family member, so the name, that's why he's got a couple different names. He was born December 30th, 1928. He died in June 2nd, 2008. And so he was an American singer, a guitarist, a songwriter, and a music producer. And he played a key role in the transition from blues to rock. He influenced a lot of folks: Buddy Holly, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, the Animals, George Thorogood, and the Clash, and more. So what is the origin of his name? So there's actually a couple of, it was sort of unclear, but there is an instrument that looks like the instrument that he plays a lot. It's sort of this guitar with one string, and it actually can also be even just a string that's mounted on the side of a house or a wall, and actually, with a rock as sort of this little bridge, and then you could actually slide things along here. So anyway, it's a homemade single string instrument. It was originated probably from Mississippi, mainly played by children, and it actually probably descended from an African instrument that looks very similar. And so this was, possibly how he got his name. There were a couple of other funny stories. One was, he was kind of making a self-deprecating comment like, you're not going to amount to diddly, and so, well, I'll name myself Bo Diddley and I'll show you, or whatever. So there were a couple of different interesting stories, but chances are it's kind of coincidence that, the instrument has the same name, so it probably has something to do with that. It is a famous beat. And basically, it probably started in 1955 with one of Bo Diddley's most famous songs, which I'll actually play for you in a little while. And this rhythm has been around for centuries. In fact, we've talked about it before. It's the clave. And so there's a 3-2 clave and a 2-3 clave. And in a minute, you'll recognize it because we've clapped it before and played it before. And it has origins, again, in Africa and Cuba, and descended to, chances are Louisiana and that area had a lot of influence in early jazz, blues, and then later transitioning to rock and roll. So, what does it look like? So I actually have this really cool book that has all the different drum beats. So if there's another drum beat that we want to explore next week, I can probably find it and we can talk about it. But basically, this top one here has 3 notes and then 2 notes. And it can be written like this, which looks a little more fancy, or it can be written like this. And so I like this one. It's a little easier. So this is a 1. The first note's always easier because it's usually 1. But it's not just a normal quarter note. It's got a dot. The dot makes it longer. So how much longer? Half of what it's worth longer. So if it's worth 1 and 2/8 notes equals a quarter note, it now is equal a quarter note and 1/8 note. Or you can think of it as 3/8 notes. So basically, because a quarter note is equal to 2/8 notes and you half that, you're adding 1 more. So it's 3/8 notes. Or you could just think of it as a quarter note and an 1/8 note. So if we were to count that, it would get the 1 and the and the 2. And then the next thing we have is the and of 2. And this is an 1/8 note. It's got the tail. So, whoops, let's go forward. 1 and 2 and. And then we've got a rest on 3. The squiggle is a quarter note rest. And then we get to play 4. So we still have 4 notes in the measure. So here's our bar line. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So ba, ba, ba. And then we have a rest on 1. We play the 2 and the 3 and a rest on 4. So if we played the whole thing, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and rest. Ba, ba. Repeat. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Speed it up. Battle to battle. I lost it a little bit there. So let's continue. I got excited. Okay, here we go. So here is another rendition. So this is basically, if you look at the accents, it's, showing us, it's a little bit different. We've got the accents are on a tom-tom. So this top line is tom-tom. This middle third space up is always snare drum. So they're just filling in those other notes. And of course, they're writing it as 16th notes. Down here we have a bass drum. Here's our hi-hat with the foot. So it's basically like, bass, hi-hat, bass, hi-hat, bass, hi-hat, bass, hi-hat going along down below, and then all this stuff going on top. And so here's another picture of Bo Diddley, more recent. Again, they're just showing you the different variations. We won't spend too much time because I want to get to the listening part of this. So I just wanted you to be familiar. It's been expanded upon. It started off with, like many things, with a simple little theme, and then it gets kind of, fancified, if you will. That's my term for spicing it up. And it can get real fancy, but at the core, it's got that pulse, and that pulse is really catchy. One of the things that's catchy about it is a lot of times, sometimes people can play their hi-hat on the ands, which, we've talked about before. Instead of just always being on the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's kind of bouncy. It makes you want to dance a little bit when you're on the off beats or the up beats. And so sometimes these accents can help us with that. So anyway, this is probably more than you wanted to know. Here's a really cool thing. So this is actually telling you some of the, so the very first one, Bo Diddley, 1955, there's the Chirping Crickets, which we'll listen to. I think probably Molly knows them. 1957. The Who, even, which is a really, rock band, 1968. David Bowie, 1973. Bruce Springsteen, 1975. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, 76. The Clash, 79. The Pretenders, 81. Guns N' Roses, did the Bo Diddley beat. 87. And then even U2, 1988, and more. So we'll actually listen to this, and you can feel at the core this beat, and then they've done other things to it. So it's very nicely modified from kind of a folk thing to even kind of heavy metal. And that's the thing about rhythm, is like you can take a rhythm and start with something very basic and do it in a classical format, do it in a jazz format, do it in a reggae format, and it's totally different, but not really. And so that's kind of cool. So here's some of the ones, and I just typed these out. And I agree. Molly had suggested, I Want Candy, Mickey's Monkey. I looked them up, and yeah, sure enough, they are the Bo Diddley beat. So we'll listen to some of these. So let's start with the first one, the most basic one, which was the original. So hopefully you can hear this.
Baby, diamond ring. If that diamond ring don't shine, he gonna take it to a private eye.
You can hear the shaker. He's playing it on tom-tom. Boom, 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 boom. Get that feel to it. So hopefully this is showing up good. So let's do Who Do You Love? Another one by Bo Diddley. Kind of got that choo-choo train feel. So not exact. So this one's not quite as obvious, but it's kind of got that feel. Kind of got that feel. Another one. Let's see. Oh, those are a lot of Bo Diddley ones. Let's jump ahead. Let's do the Chirping Crickets, or the Crickets, I guess they are. Buddy Holly and the Crickets. All right, here we go.
Gonna be, are you gonna give your love to me? I wanna love you night and day. You know my love will not fade away.
Okay. What about I Want Candy? There it is. Ba, 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 ba. Then they fill it in. Tom-toms. How about the Who? Oh, let's see. Wait, that's not it. How about David Bowie? The guitar is playing it. And then you hear that shaker. At its core, it's still the Bo Diddley. Here's another one. Bruce, well, that one didn't, I didn't like that one as much. Let's do the Guns N' Roses version. Floor tom. Ba, 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 ba. and so on. So you get the idea. The Bo Diddley beat is popular and has been popular for a long, long time. And it took, it kind of is a cross between the blues, which, if you ever take jazz history, which I took, was one of my most favorite classes in college, and the history of basically Afro-Cuban music, descendants from other countries, the melding pot, a lot of happened in New Orleans, and then kind of spread from there, and then the jump, the transition into blues, and then early rock and roll, and even still with us today. And that's the most interesting thing about music, at least to me, is it's not just, one genre, like there's this melding in between of multiple different things that kind of coexist. Oh, Jasmine did make it. Yay! Awesome. Welcome. I hope you got to see some of the Bo Diddley. If not, I'll send it to you as long as the copyright doesn't lock us out. Sometimes if I play too much of a song, then I can't post these videos. I have to take the music off. Okay, so other notable achievements. Well, here's his guitar again, or a picture of one that's similar. So he was, luckily, a lot of these early folks didn't get recognized, but he was recognized and was alive to enjoy it. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987, Blues Hall of Fame 2003, Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame in 2017. Of course, I think he died in 2008, so that one was after. A Lifetime Achievement Award, and also he was really known for his effects on the guitar. So he did like all these reverb effects and different things like that, which is kind of interesting and cool, that he could take something that was like a one-string thing and turn it into, something a lot more interesting, where he would bend notes and things like that. So other things that was suggested last week. So let's see. So actually here, and I may just send this to you because I think it'll show up better, but I did look up Just the Two of Us, a Grover Washington Jr. song. And this is a young kid who's playing this. It's just a drum cover that he put up on the YouTube. And I thought he did a really nice job of it. So I like his rendition. And he's a young guy, so he wasn't even alive when this song was written. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then there's another one that I'll send you, The Soulful Strut. Here's another young kid's interpretation, so it's kind of neat to see a modern spin on an older song, and to do it justice, though, not just to, beat it up or anything, but actually, made it really cool, really tasty, really nice, because sometimes the younger folks, it's all about how fast you can play and how much you can show off, and that's not what the song wants. Not these songs. They don't want that. They want somebody to just stay out of the way and just groove along. So I thought these two I really liked a lot, and there's probably more. And then here's one that actually was suggested by Jasmine, and this is Another Day. So it's a Beatles drum cover, and again, I'll send this to you, and you can click right on the PowerPoint and go right to these links. You don't have to cut and paste or any of that, and enjoy some of these. I won't take our time now to do that, but these are things that kind of came up in our last session. So questions about the Bo Diddley beat? Anybody?
I don't have a question, but I do have to point something out. You can't talk about Bo Diddley without also talking about the Duchess, who was she was just a woman who played guitar, who played electric guitar, and he always introduced her as his sister, and I always thought she was his sister, but it turns out she wasn't. But she, toured with him, and she always wore these. I remember seeing her in this pink strapless evening gown with a really straight skirt, and she was wearing formal gloves up to her elbows and white gloves, and she was still playing guitar wearing that outfit. And she also wore, gold lame, like cigarette pants and, sexy blouses. But Duchess was always with him. I saw him. I met him in 1990, I think. I got his autograph. He was just playing a club in Atlanta, and it was really great. I really enjoyed the show. I really did. But Duchess was not there.
Okay. Well, I wonder if I look her up, do you think we'll see what happens? The Duchess or just Duchess?
maybe type Bo Diddley Duchess, maybe, because there's lots of duchesses.
Okay. Bo Diddley Duchess. Let's see. Well, let me look just real quick here. That's so cool that you got to get to hear him and meet him. Okay, so I just looked it up. I just Googled it, so I didn't look up in iTunes. Well, iTunes, nothing came up, but she, Norma Jean Wofford, was an American guitarist who played with Bo Diddley and his band from 1962 to 66, born in Pittsford, Pennsylvania. She was his second female guitarist, replacing Peggy Jones, so that's pretty amazing that there were two female guitarists. When Jones left the band, disappointed fans asked Bo Diddley what had become of her. Also known as the Duchess. So, yeah, very cool. Let's see if there's anything else here. Yeah, and it talks about what she wore, and so, very cool. Awesome. All right, so let's see. What else would people like to talk about or explore either this week or next week? We have lots of time here. I didn't really prepare anything else. I did that, and I just thought we'd keep it open and see. Sometimes the best things come up rather than are pre-planned, and we can actually practice clapping this song if we want to. That would be a fun thing to do. So comments. Let's go around. So Joanne, what did you think of the Bo Diddley beat? Did you recognize it? Have you heard it before? Let's see. I don't know if you can. Your sound might not be working today. Not working? Okay, that's okay. Jasmine, were you able to hear some of that?
Yeah, that was fun. It's like the minute you hear the music, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was really cool. That was very fun. And you said you had taken jazz history, and you know I like jazz, but I don't know very much about it. So at the risk of boring other people someday, can you just give us a brief overview of what the different types of jazz music are? Because I know there's something like soft jazz, or people like, so you said smooth jazz, but nobody likes the term smooth, and I don't know. So, but that would be interesting for me anyway. I don't know if it'd be interesting for other people.
Yeah, well, I could actually do just a tiny bit of that now, just off the cuff. So, originally it was big band, and so there were these big bands, and a big band is usually got a sax section, a trombone section, a trumpet section, and a rhythm section. And, and that's your typical Stan Kenton, Duke Ellington. Sometimes they have a singer who'll come out, but it's largely instrumental, and a lot of horns and things like that. Well, through time, it got expensive, like you can't pay a big band. If you're a little club, you can only charge so much, and they expect to be paid. And so things got smaller. So things sort of developed into jazz combos, and it usually would be 3 to 4 to 5 players. You'd typically have, again, the rhythm section. That's the piano, bass, sometimes an upright bass, and more in later years it became the electric bass, but an upright bass. And also the stages were small, so you couldn't have a lot of players. That was the other limiting factors. And so you'd have a drummer, and you'd have a keyboard player, an upright bass, and then some kind of instrumentalist, whether it be a sax or a trumpet, or people would sit in. So maybe you'd have like an open mic night, and people would just come and jam. And so you'd kind of swap out players, and people would pay to get in, and people would make money. And this was a lot of times how, at least in New Orleans, how people would pay their rent. So they would have these things called rent parties, where they would basically charge. They'd invite people into their living room or their basement or garage, whatever they had available, cram as many people in there, provide some alcohol, and people would pay to drink and dance all night long, and you would collect money, and then you could pay your rent. And this is kind of how, the early days of jazz kind of evolved. And a lot of the clubs, like I said, had small stages, so the big band kind of died out. And even now, it's hard to find a big band because, it's a lot of players, it's a lot of space, it's technically challenging to get everybody together, to get all the parts covered. Sometimes a jazz combo is a much easier thing, especially if you can swap, hey, my sax player can't play tonight, but the trumpet player can. So, that kind of a thing. And it sort of evolved. And then there was a period of time in the 50s where jazz was sort of competing with blues and rock, and there was this group of people that were very good players, and they developed bebop. And bebop was very fast jazz. But the thing about bebop that was unique is the players played for each other. They didn't care about the audience. In fact, many times they turned their back on the audience and play to each other. And it was a very rebellious time in jazz. And Miles Davis was a part of that bebop, and he was just a phenomenal player. But he was he didn't care about the audience so much, It was more about this conversation between us. And but bebop was super popular, super hard to play, super fast. And then from there, it kind of went into sort of jazz fusion, jazz rock. And now, there's progressive jazz, there's smooth jazz. So smooth jazz is kind of more elevator-ish, kind of, when you're at the dentist and you're trying to relax, they'll put on smooth jazz because you don't want bebop. Bebop makes people nervous. It's just like really quick and just, like a bunny rabbit, and it's this conversation between the sax player and the trumpet player. They're having this argument almost, trying to compete for airtime. But so smooth jazz is kind of, and a lot of smooth jazz is actually really kind of classical. So they took like orchestras, and then played jazz songs. And so that's kind of one whole genre. And then, it's just kind of morphed into all these different things, which is kind of neat. And I really like, and I've mentioned this before, Cirque du Soleil, which is, a show, a theatrical show, and it's very athletic. It's very dance, but it's very musical. And the thing I like it is they take like opera, but they'll make it be really intense techno at the same time. And there's somebody who's singing opera in another language, and then there's this just killer band playing all this stuff, and it's just this morphing of really amazing things. And so they'll take like this, it sounds like a little German village, chickadoon, 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 polka, and turn it into this like intense, like, strobe lights going off, and people like it. And that's the thing. It appeals to everybody, young and old, and everybody can find something in it. The purists, of course, they just want their beer barrel polka like this, and the techno people want this. But like in the middle, I think most people are kind of somewhere in the middle and can, I recognize that. But wow, I really like how they changed it and made it a lot more interesting, so that's the 5-minute jazz history. But yeah, super fascinating. And a lot of those early people, there's somebody called Jelly Roll Morton, and they were just so instrumental in like everything. But many of them really died penniless. Nobody knew them really that much, except for in the circles that they ran, which is really kind of sad. Historically, all the really great people didn't really get a lot of recognition. So, but they definitely influenced even what we do today. So I'll give you my little rendition of the Bo Diddley. So I was kind of exploring it a little bit. So hopefully you can see. One of the things that I liked is where they were doing the, this. So if we just do that. So, you can kind of go crazy from there, but that little beat is really catchy, and it's got that nice little upbeat, and then also shaker goes along really well with it. So you can kind of hear, like, even if you can't play an instrument or anything, you could do that shaker, and the accents. In fact, I should have brought my shakers. I actually have, so I'll tell you a funny story that actually just last night at my little concert band that I go to, we're playing this thing called the Jamaican rumba, and I have this maraca part, and maracas are kind of and it's actually the clave. It's 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2, and you're just the whole song. That's all you do, and it goes on and on. And so I brought my little fruit shakers. So I have 2 bananas, I have an apple, an orange, and a lemon, and they actually are in my kitchen in my fruit bowl. And in fact, my mom the other day, she said, "Can I have one of those bananas? They look so good." And she's like, they don't ever go bad. And I said, "Mom, those aren't real." Those are shakers. And she's like, "What?" So I showed her. But anyway, so I took 2 of the shakers last night because I was just like, I wonder if anybody's going to notice. We're in the back. And so I had my orange and my lemon, and I started shaking. Of course, the band director, cuts everybody off, and she's like, "What is that?" And so anyway, it was kind of funny. But so where am I going with this? The shakers. So basically, the upbeat of the shaker, the ands, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and, is very catchy. And I could run and grab shakers. I have all different ones. I make them out of Easter eggs. So at Easter time, go to the dollar store, get little plastic eggs, get some rice or some lentils or some beans, BBs, whatever you got. You don't need a lot. You put it in the little egg. It's really important to seal the egg, because otherwise, like, I've done this with kids before, and like there's nothing worse than rice flying everywhere. Teachers don't like it. They're not going to invite you back when you trash their classroom. Same with the senior center. So I always take a little tape and I go around the egg, so at least if they throw it on the ground, it is going to break. But most of the time, most people are pretty careful, and it's not going to burst open. So I just put a little tape around it, and I have probably 50 of these things. But you can get yourself some little egg shakers, and then just 1 E and a 2 E and on the and you fling a little harder, and you get that train, that choo-choo train beat, and there you go. You kind of can feel that on the upbeat. So anyway, Bo Diddley, there you go. So very cool. Let's see, Molly, what great suggestions do you have for the future, or any? You're always have something interesting to share with us.
Not today, I'm afraid.
No, okay. Well, if you think,
I'd be interested to know if anybody did beats like this week, like we were supposed to. I've been sick, so I wasn't able to do anything.
Nobody did, but I understand. I know Jasmine played around with GrooveScribe. So did you come up with some anything that you could share with us?
No, because I discovered primarily I'm not very good at it. It's like, boy, that sounds awful.
Well, did you stick with the rock beats or the triplet beats, or which ones did you try?
I was just punching around, but so I'd bring up their basic beat, and then I'd fiddle with it, and then it would sound awful. So it's like, okay, I need to practice on this a little more.
Well, let's see what I can do now. This might be kind of fun. We can create something together. So I'm going to go into, I have it bookmarked because I really like that. Yeah, nobody did send me beats, but we can do one right now. So let's see, GrooveScribe. Okay, and let me share my screen. And okay, pull this back up. Okay, let's do a triplet beat. Okay, so I'm going to keep it simple and just do Let's do the difference between the triplet. We kind of did this a little bit. We're going to talk about three things, three beats. We're going to do the one, this is, kind of like what I call the triplet shuffle. So we've got a bass drum here on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, and hi-hat all the way across. And we're going to go about 80. So here's a nice little triplet, kind of, this would be a blues type of thing. And what we can do to it is, let's do that. All we're going to do, we're going to add 3 notes on the kick along with the hi-hat and see what we get. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to take this middle note out of each one. This is still going to be kind of a shuffle, but this is kind of in between a shuffle and a true swing. Okay, so let's see what this might sound like. I'm going to go a little faster. Maybe a little slower. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to remove this one here. Okay, this is our classic swing, or jazz, or big band. We're going to do one thing to it. This hi-hat is now going to be, let's see if I can do it. I want it to be an open hi-hat. I think at one point there was a way to, okay, I'm going to do that one open, closed. This one's going to be open. This one's going to, I'm right-clicking. Open, closed, open, open, closed, and this last one's going to be open. This is our classic jazz beat. So notice the 2 and the 4. It's a closed hi-hat. That means our foot is coming down on the hi-hat. So we've got a bass coming down, a foot coming down with that. Same as snare, bass, and foot. So your feet are going boom, chick, boom, chick. And the hi-hat's making a chick sound, and it's closing off the open sound, because this is when you're striking it. It's open, so it makes a ksh. And then when you go down, you can still hit it when it's down, but it makes a chick. And so if we were to play this, so that's how we went from a pure triplety blues thing to sort of a shuffle in between to like a jazz, and then in between, you can alter it. So you could start off going da 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 da. Maybe it's too fast for you. Your hand's getting tired. You can just switch to the ding da ding da ding da ding da ding da ding, and then you can switch. Maybe go over on your hi-hat. Of course, we're going to stick with triplet sort of fills. There's something called 4 on the floor. So I'm going to put a bass here and a bass here, and this is where your upright bass player is playing along with you. So let's sound how that might sound. Bass, both, bass, both, bass, both, bass, both, bass. So you can hear that's called 4 on the floor. So you're basically, your bass drum is going boom, 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 boom. So that's kind of like a little bit with regard to swing. We haven't really talked a lot about sort of the disco beat or the offbeat ride. So let's switch over to this. Here's our typical rock beat. So let's just kind of maybe slow it down just a little bit. Typical rock beat. But what if we take this out and this out and this out, and we're going to play on the ands. So this is the and of 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, because we kept saying how that choo-choo train, it's got that forward momentum. Let's also make these open hi-hats. And I know you'll recognize this beat because it's super popular even now, even to other things that aren't disco. Disco has this bad. Let's talk about disco for a minute. So I grew up in the 70s. It was the disco era, and I learned to play disco, and I played that beat to a lot of stuff. And I still play it to a lot of stuff because it's fun and I like it and it's catchy. But the reason disco got a bad name is because, again, these were live musicians in LA and New York. This is the story you don't hear about. So there were a lot of live musicians in New York and LA. And they used to play all the gigs, all the weddings, all the bars, everything. Well, this person called a DJ showed up to the wedding or the bar. And how cool. It's one person you're paying, not a whole group. They show up with their stuff, and guess what? They can play everything because most bands, even really good bands, you go to the wedding, you got grandma who's suggesting something you've never heard of, and you got little Johnny, 12-year-old, who's something you never heard of too, and you're trying to keep everybody happy, right? So you usually have the dinner set where everybody's quiet, and then you want people up and dancing, but you got to keep everybody happy. You want grandma and little Johnny to be happy. Well, guess who can do that really well? A DJ, because they could just pull all this music up and they can play anything. And if they know kind of the Macarena and all the popular group dances, live bands don't always do that. So DJs started getting all the gigs, and the musicians were like not happy because they live off what they do, and so they started pardon my words, but disco sucks. They started that. It was the musicians who started that, and they start telling everybody disco sucks, disco sucks. But meanwhile, everybody's at the disco, and it didn't suck because everybody liked it and they were dancing, and everybody liked DJs, and you could pay them a certain amount and not have to pay a whole band. So that's pretty awesome. And so it was this whole thing, bumper stickers, and it all came out of musicians worried about their jobs. And what they found out was they ended up morphing into other things. Music changed. The delivery of music has changed through time. But that's, and I didn't know that story. For the longest time, I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, and I'm like, why are they saying that? Because, obviously everybody loves it. It's on the radio. Everybody's playing it. Everybody's doing it. It's really popular. Why is it not cool? I don't understand. Then I finally figured it out. Well, same thing with drum machines. When drum machines first came out, drummers didn't like it because you don't pay the drummer. Let's just get a drum machine. We'll pay, a few $100s, and then we can use it for every single gig, and we don't have to pay our poor drummer anymore. And we don't have to, take up space. We'll just push a button, boop, and we got a drummer. Or let's say you're a keyboard player. It comes with your keyboard. So I don't even need a bass player anymore. I show up to the gig as a singer, piano player, and I got bass right here, and I got guitar right here, and I got drums right here, and guess what? I get to collect it all. And so that's kind of how and drummers didn't like it. So they were like, drum machines are, not good. Well, then guess what? Secretly, they're all buying them. Like me, I bought one, and I wanted to play around with it. What does this thing do that's so awesome? Well, and it lasted for a little while, and then people got tired of that sort of plain old, similar, sterile sound. You want, like we talked about before, those minor variations, that feel that a machine can't really replicate. Even when they try to build it in, it sounds like a robot, and people can tell the difference. It doesn't groove as much. So anyway, I know got off on a tangent there, but so here's the disco beat, and so I'm going to put a bass here and a bass here. So we've got bass 1, 2, 3, 4, snare in 2 and 4. Everybody loves that. And then our hi-hats on the off beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're going to make it an open hi-hat, which means the foot's coming down with the kick drum. So the feet are going like this. And we like having our feet go together because usually you got 4 things to think about. Now we got 2 of them doing the same thing, so that frees up our brain. So our brain doesn't like thinking about 4 things at once. That's called independence, and that's what drummers struggle with all the time, trying to get all our limbs to be completely separate and detached from one another. So here is a typical disco beat. It's got that nice bass. People want to hear that when they're dancing. Super loud. They want to feel it in their chest, right? And it's about that tempo, maybe a little slower. Right in there. We are family. Right? Okay. So there's your disco beat. But its application is used, I have heard it in every genre. We just don't, they got creative and they just stopped calling it the disco beat. They called it the offbeat ride. And a lot of times you play that, this part on a cowbell. Like, let's say we turned this into a cowbell. Ooh, that's going to be kind of cool. Let's hear how a cowbell, same beat, but with a cowbell on the off beat, or the bell of a cymbal. How would that sound? You've heard that before. What if we turned it into something more, a stacker? That's where you got two cymbals smashed together. So I have one over there. It's relatively new, but it's got a really nice, interesting sound. It's not ringy, gets out of the way. It cuts through. If you've got a really loud band, you really want to hear that offbeat. That's why we play it on the ride, the bell of the ride cymbal. So like the one that's, let's see, I can't see myself, but hopefully you can see this is the bell of the cymbal. And if you hit that with the shoulder of your stick, it makes that characteristic sound. So let's listen to that. And it's almost got that open feel. Same kind of thing. Okay, so anyway, so it's kind of fun to play around with this. Anybody have any suggestions? We could try the Bo Diddley with it. Shall we try that? Here's our 16th notes. So we said it's 1, the and of 2, which is there. Let's make it be the stacker. 1, the and of 2. Let's get rid of that. And 4. Let's make that be the stacker. Now there is a second measure to it. Maybe that's what this does. Ooh, we get a second measure. Nice. And this is going to be gone. We're going to play on the 2 with our stacker. We're going to make a Bo Diddley beat right here before your eyes. This one right here is a stacker, and we'll get rid of that. So let's take 4 off the floor. We're going to go boom, and we'll just leave that. Sometimes simple is best. I think that might have been your issue, Jasmine. Sometimes when you put too much stuff in, it doesn't sound good. It's like making soup and using all your spices. You pick 2 or 3. And so, like here, we've got our kick on 1, our snare on 2. Can't go wrong with that. And then we're going to do the Bo Diddley, the clave, 1, the and of 2, so that we're in 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4. And the second measure, the only one we're going to play is on the 2 and the 3. And let's go a little faster. All right, here's our Bo Diddley. We got to go much faster. What if we take snare out? We're really going to hear it. Let's put it there. What if we added, let's see, it'd be nice to put a shaker in. I don't know if we can do that, but just a shaker. But here's our Bo Diddley. 1 and 4, 2, 3, and we've kind of got our bass just going on 1 and 3. Now we could do our bass the same if we really wanted to make this a super simple beat. Everything's doing the same thing. Let's get rid of that and add it there. Okay, now this one's going to really sound Bo Diddley. Oh, now, what if we filled in some of these notes on tom-tom? That's kind of what they were doing a little bit. Let's see. Let's do everything that's not a stacker is now going to be a tom-tom. So this is a lot of fun. You can just really play. And if you don't like it, you take it out. So everything that's not a stacker, we're going to make a tom-tom. And here. Okay, here we go. Whoa. We're going to slow it down. That's like a machine gun. We don't want to hear that. That's not going to groove. We're going to slow it down. So we're sort of losing the feel of the Bo Diddley there, aren't we? So, yeah, again, sounds like a robot. It doesn't have that human feel, and it doesn't have that kind of jumpiness. Now, we could do the same beat and translate it to a triplet beat, and it probably would come off a little bit better because it's a little more swingy, if you will. So, anyway, okay, so we have about 9 minutes left. Does anybody want to try... shall we create a beat together? Let's go back to triplets. So I'm going to ask each of you, Joanne, you're going to be our bass drum. Tell us what you'd like. If we can hear you. Can't talk? Okay. I'm going to just guess for you. Let's do the beat that we did up above. Kind of like the shuffle, and I'm going to get rid of this second measure because we don't need that. So we're going to go boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba. Molly, you're going to be our snare drum. What would you like to do?
As many triplets as possible, obviously.
Yes, I know you like your triplets. Let's do something like that. Okay, Barb, you are hi-hat, so we can do all of them. We can do every other. We can do the swing. What would you like to do? Let's see. We have you muted right now. Let's see. There we go.
What if we do the first one and then we do 2 on the second one?
Okay. Okay. You want to put them next to each other or one on the beginning?
Separate.
Separate. Yeah, I think that's going to be better. And then shall we repeat it? Repeat it?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like any of them open?
Well, yeah. Let's try it.
Yeah, let's do maybe just one. We'll do this one right here. Okay. Let's see. Jasmine, let's add a little tom-tom in here. What would you like to do?
Let's see. What, you got triplets. The pum, 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 pum. And yeah. Oh.
Here's something. Let's actually try this, if I can give you a suggestion. Let's go in between the bass. So we'll have bop boom boom. It's a triplet, but we've got that in the middle. Yeah. And then we can keep these guys unison, and then maybe we'll just repeat it. We don't want to get too busy.
Yeah.
How about something like that? And let's make this pretty slow. Okay, let's hear what we created. Oh, and actually we've got a second tom-tom. Let's do 2 low ones. So we've got the high tom, and we got some low tom. Here we go. And I'm going to take it slower. So it's got that groove. We can hear that pulse. Just makes you want to nod your head. Okay, what if we went just a tad slower? I love it. Let's do one more in the rock vein. Okay, so let's see. Molly, this time let's have you be the hi-hat. What would you like?
Well, Charlie Watts always did triplets, even when he was playing rock beat. So I still want triplets on the hi-hat.
Okay, let's see that. I might be able to do that. Set every third note for sixteenths and every sixth note for eighth notes. Every third note. I haven't tried mixing yet. Ooh, something happened. 1, 2, 3, 1 E and a, 2 E and a. Oh, we're in 3/4 time. Oh, let's see. Wow. This is like, this might be a little bit too much. Let's try this one. This is triplety. Okay, what would you like to do here? We've got 6 notes going across, which means 2 sets of triplets, kind of. 1 triplet and triplet, 2 triplet and triplet, 3 triplet and triplet, 4 triplet and triplet. This is kind of a slow grind, kind of like a stripper song. Do 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 da do 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 da do do. Okay, so what would you like to do on the hi-hat?
Okay, now am I okay, now I'm unmuted.
And we have all these choices for sounds too.
Yeah. How about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 ghost? No, 1, 2, 3, 4 ghost. 1, 2, 3, 4 ghost 5, 6. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Sure thing. Do you want it to be a normal hi-hat, or shall we make it open or something else? Cowbell, ride cymbal.
Why don't we? Can we do a fizz on the 4th one?
Ooh, like a fizz?
Yeah, I'd like.
Why don't we do a stacker? That's kind of fizz. That's fizzy. You like that
I meant
one?
on the 4.
Just 4?
No, I meant for it to be like on the.
Oh, the last one. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. Love it. Okay.
I don't know. We can hear it first.
I think it's going to be good. Okay. We got that. Okay. So, let's see. Barb, would you like to be bass drum this time? So, go ahead and unmute. Still muted there. There we go.
Okay. Maybe the second one.
Like that?
And maybe the 5th one. That'll be weird. And then maybe that one. I wonder if we can change it. Yeah, let's try that. Maybe.
This one?
Yeah. And
Okay.
then
And then maybe let's repeat, because we don't want to get too wild.
too busy.
Yeah, let's repeat like that. Okay, I like that. Okay. Jasmine, let's see. Did we already get you? No. Snare.
What happens if you put snare in between?
Like here?
The bass. That would be weird.
No, it might be. You'll be surprised. And we'll just continue that. All right. And then let's see. I don't know, Joanne, are you still unmutable? Can't get it? Okay, I think I'm going to speak for you. I'm going to be Tom Tom at the end here because not much is going on right there. And we'll just do it one other time just to be consistent. Okay, and it's fairly slow. Let's give this a whirl. Maybe we'll do another Tom Tom at the same time. We'll really augment that. Here we go.
Complicated.
Complicated, but not bad. If we slow it down, it's not bad. Okay, I think we're going to have to end. Well, I hope you guys had fun. I'll send you some homework. Thank you, Marianne, for being with us. And I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.